Hello, Professor Cantley here. Welcome back to my advanced writing course, advanced composition rather. And in this video, I'm going to talk more about grammar and style issues. First, participle clauses, and then next, something called inversion. Participle clauses. So this is section 6 of the chapter on grammar and style issues. Here's so a participle is a verb form like an ing or an ed form of the verb, which is functioning as a modifier, like an adjective. And a participle phrase or clause is a whole phrase starting with such a verb, which is modifying a noun in the main clause, the main part of the sentence. So, for example, investigating the previous research carefully, they could have a better understanding of the underlying assumption of the theory. So the phrase beginning with investigating modifies they, the researchers. So this is fine. This is very normal in academic writing. It kind of backgrounds the contents, investigating the previous research carefully. Kind of backgrounds it, puts in the background as kind of like building up to, it's secondary to the main idea of the main clause. They were able to gain a better understanding of something. So why do the following examples sound odd? Some of these are classic examples of misuse of participle phrases. Entering the room, the vase broke. Sounds funny, doesn't it? Why? Entering the room? Who is entering the room? The intention is probably someone else, a person, but because you expect a participle phrase to modify the subject of the main or the noun right before it or right after it, the noun of the main clause, in this case, the vase. Because of that, it sounds weird. A participle starting a sentence, you expect it to modify the subject of the main clause that's coming up. So was the vase entering the room? No. That would be weird. No. With her giant nose pointing down the runway, my aunt boarded the plane. This is possible because in English we used to use her, she for planes and ships and stuff. It actually should refer to the plane's nose, the plane's giant nose pointing down the runway. So it sounds like the aunt has a giant nose. That sounds weird. Or not nice. Waiting for the bus, the time passed very slowly. So was the time waiting for the bus? That sounds really strange and something you'd only say if you're very drunk or on drugs or something. Doesn't make any sense. Next, doing the same experiment several times, the findings were finally confirmed. Were the findings doing the experiments? That sounds weird. It doesn't match logically. So in these cases, the participle phrase is not really modifying the subject, and it leads to nonsensical sentence. It's nonsense. It's weird. It's something that you wouldn't say. It's considered grammatically incorrect or ungrammatical and nonsensical. We call it a dangling modifier or mismatched modifier, and it doesn't make sense. So let's see some more examples. In of course, the previous example, investigating the previous research carefully, that makes sense because it's clearly modifying they. They investigated the research carefully and were able to get a better understanding of something. So some more examples. Let's take this example without a participle phrase. The high cost of the new therapy has caused an economic burden to patients and eliminated their opportunity to receive treatment. Okay, that's fine. In 6, you can change that to which eliminated their opportunity to receive treatment. That's the discourse anaphora that we talked about before, or maybe in the next video, depending on how I order these videos in YouTube. Okay, which refers to the high cost of new therapy and the economic burden. It refers to the whole situation, which eliminated the opportunity. Or 7, eliminating their opportunity to receive treatment. So in this case, it's modifying the participle phrase, eliminating their opportunity to receive treatment, is modifying, I guess, patience. It's modifying the last noun, but it's not that the patients are eliminating, but it's modifying high cost of the new therapy, actually. So at first it looks like it's modifying patience, and in other cases it might modify the last noun of a main phrase if a participle phrase is after the main clause, but in this case it's modifying high cost of the new therapy. And it's saying that it eliminated opportunity for treatment. And that's a participle phrase that works. And some more examples. Global patterns were reset. Treated cells were endowed with capacity to do such and such. This suggests the dominance of such and such. Okay, this is a technical medical example. Or you can say this, or this result, this finding, this outcome suggests that discourse in aphra. Or a participle phrase suggesting a dominance of oncogenic alterations. And that's fine. That works really well. And it kind of backgrounds something, or it flows better for a reason that I will mention soon. In the next set, okay, using our assumption for x, y is increased by blah, blah, blah. That means kind of by using our assumption, so it's modifying x by using our assumption. It's modifying y by using our assumption for x. 2, based on our program, we analyze the transmission. Okay, so based on, it's modifying we and how we analyzed it, why we analyzed it. 3, figure 2 shows x, blah, 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 measured at 523K. Measurements, technical examples here. 4, then a condensation phenomenon combined with a loss of 2 ions, and so on. So that's modifying condensation phenomenon. 5, does not respond to such and such, resulting in something. 6, suggesting that listeners were not sensitive to the frequency range. 7, mass production of the waveform, showing slow response times, or slowing fast response times as a result. That is a waveform that was showing slow response times. So you see in the academic examples what's going on. It might indicate kind of a condition or means, like in using our assumption, by using our assumption based on our program. So some kind of condition or means or circumstance behind the main clause, or result or outcome, especially when it follows the main clause, a result or an outcome or an implication of the result, or an implication of what is just reported. Okay, this suggests or suggesting a dominance of something. Measured at, okay, it's indicating an outcome, resulting in something, suggesting that, showing that. It indicates some kind of result, outcome, or implications. So this is how we often use participle phrases, longer, more complex participle phrases in academic writing. And it's natural in academic writing. You can either background something before the main clause, or it can create better flow when you're talking about a result or outcome as a result of what happened in the main clause. And those are participle phrases. Next we have inversion. And inversion is a special type of sentence structure, and it's common in academic writing as well as in narratives. You might be familiar with it once I explain it to you. You've probably seen it in stories, like including children's stories or very descriptive stories, but it's also used in academic writing. So your standard sentence structure is subject verb object or subject verb predicate, what we call SVO structure. But you can have a structure where the subject and verb are inverted or switched around. The verb or verb phrase comes before the subject and something else is put at the beginning of the sentence, causing the subject and verb to switch. Something takes the beginning position of the sentence and the subject and verb switch. And it works for certain effects, and we'll see why. So the following examples are from a published paper on the topic. Put the reference here. So let's take a standard sentence form. Driving along the highway, enjoying the drive. The air feels cool, the sun is warm but not too hot. The road is clear and you can drive as fast as you want. Then another car appears in your rear view mirror, zooming along like a bullet. The maniac comes up from behind you like a rocket. Okay, that's fine. 2. Let's take a look at this example. You drive as fast as you like in the outside lane on a German highway, and you may feel like the king of the road until you look in the rear view mirror. Zooming in on you like a guided missile comes a rival contender, bullying you to get out of the way. Now, how does that sound? It sounds quite alright. It flows a little bit better. That's an example of inversion. The main verb is comes. The subject is rival contender. You've got a participle phrase zooming in on you like a guided missile that's placed at the beginning of the sentence. No comma. It's the modifier and then the main verb and then the subject. The order is switched around. Now that works okay in number 2. Now how about number 3? Drive as fast as you can or as fast as you like on the outside lane of a German highway. This freedom brings problems of its own. You miss your exit, you lose control on a tiny bump. Zooming in on you like a guided missile comes a rival contender, bullying you to get out of the way. Does that sound okay? No, it doesn't work here. Why? The inversion doesn't work here. How about this one? You're driving along the highway, enjoying the drive. The air feels cool, the sun is warm but not too hot. The road is clear and you can drive as fast as you can. Then in your rear view mirror appears another car, zooming along like a bullet. Like a rocket, the maniac comes from behind and passes you. This works. This works pretty well. Maybe even a little bit better than the second one, number 2. In your rear view mirror. It's a prepositional phrase, kind of a modifier. It is in the beginning of the sentence. And then appears is the main verb. Another car is the subject. The order is switched around. This sounds nice, right? It sounds better than the original sentence with kind of the standard word order, right? Why? Because an inverted sentence works as a transitional device for transitioning to something kind of related. But often it introduces something kind of new, but related to the scene. So in number 2, it doesn't really work. You're talking about different things. Number 3, it doesn't work in number 3. Number 3 is mentioning several different things, several different negative things, and then the inverted sentence. It's not logically consistent with the scene. You're looking at different things, missing exit, losing control, bump, and then zooming in on you. It doesn't work. It's not a smooth transition. In then the last one, it works as a smooth transition. It's very related and kind of comes naturally from what was described before and introduces something new but related to the scene. It's a smoother transition, and so it works. Okay, so that's a narrative example in storytelling, and you've probably seen it in stories, in English stories. It is also used in academic writing. So for example, here's an example. Aging is a process that begins long before retirement. Okay, in old age we feel the effects of it. Decades of lifestyle habits, healthy living habits, as well as experiences in dealing with illnesses, emotional crises, ability to resolve conflicts, interest, lucidity, and openness toward new things, support offered by family, friends, and neighbors, Okay. I could, for many of these areas, thinking ahead reduces worries later on. Now, I could continue this paragraph with either 1, Social relationships are particularly important as stable and resilient networks of relationships, da da da. That's okay, it's fine. Or I can make a smoother transition and it sounds a little better, sounds a little nicer. Particularly important are social relationships. So particularly important, it's an adjective phrase that's moved to the front of the sentence. Are is the main verb. Social relationships is the subject. Particularly important are social relationships as stable and resilient networks of relationships for elderly people, da da da. It works in that example because it's a smooth translation. It's a smooth transition to something related and similar, and it flows naturally. And that's why it's better than one. One is perfectly fine, but number two just smooth. Number two just flows a little more smoothly. It makes a smooth transition into a very related aspect of the issue, to something somewhat very new, but closely related to what was said before. And that's the key. It's something closely connected, closely related to what was said before. It's not really suddenly introduced. There have been several sentences that kind of develop set the scene, the idea, and then the inverted sentence kind of makes a smooth, soft transition to something very related. Something kind of new, but very related to what was said before. And so pay attention to academic writing examples and how they sometimes use inversion. And maybe try it yourself. Okay, that's it for now. This may or may not be the last in this little series of videos on style and grammar issues. But I hope you notice some of these kinds of structures in academic papers as you read them, or in professional writing samples as you read them, and then maybe you can try them out yourself in your writing. Good luck, and hope you enjoy it. Until maybe the next video, I'll see you later. Goodbye.